Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 99, recorded June 15th, 2011. Chromosexual. This Week in Google is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 30% off your new account for 3 months, go to Squarespace.com. Use the offer code TWIG6. And by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, visit netflix.com/twit. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google and the Cloud, and today we're very cloudy. We'll talk about that in a moment. We're looking skyward. But before we do that, let's say hello to our panel today, a great panel joining us from all over the world. Well, not really. Starting with Gina Trapani, who is calling from San Diego. Hi, Gina.
How are you?
I am great. Thank you for being on TWiT on Sunday. It was really fun having you.
It was so fun. It was so great to finally see the cottage. I'm back in my office in San Diego. A little sadder to be here instead of there, but love doing Twig.
It was fun, and Gina and I had some special time together, which was great. We got to talk and stuff, and it was really nice. Also welcoming who was another fellow who was also on TWiT this week, which is Kevin Marks from Salesforce.
Nice to see you again.
And Chatter.com. Great to see you, this time in his garden in a beautiful setting.
Yes, any birds you hear are my fault. I'm just hoping you won't hear poodles and lawnmowers too.
Or children. Also joining us, and very apt today, Danny Sullivan from SearchEngineLand.com, because Google had a big search announcement yesterday, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. Thank you, Danny, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you. And a quick look at the moon, just to see, yes, it's fully occluded now. Google's actually streaming this video on YouTube Live, youtube.com/Google. So you can watch, I guess where is it? South America, right? So we're not in the Northern Hemisphere able to see this. But what's even more fun is the Google Doodle today. If you go to google.com, it's too late if you're listening after the fact, but if you go to google.com, they've got a little slider, and they show you exactly, in real time, the state of the moon, which is fully occluded as we speak, and you can go back and forth. I don't know why they put a slider in there, but you can go back and
I'm sure it's HTML5.
Of course it is. They're demonstrating another HTML5 control, right? You think that that's a widget that's built in, or do you have to actually? You must have to do it though.
There's a built-in slider in HTML5.
Is there? Oh, that's neat.
Yes.
Is that really cool?
And look, the hand changes.
Pretty sure.
From its arrow, pointing Mickey Mouse glove, hand. And we can drag it around. Yeah, of course, every Google Doodle now is really going to be an HTML5 demo from now on, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's just a given. So I
They've
thought...
been doing a good job with them, though.
Oh, they're fun.
The Les Paul Doodle was really awesome.
The guitar that you could actually play and record your music.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who's uploaded those anywhere, or like what people have done? I wonder. Let me see.
They didn't. I was disappointed that Google didn't actually make it easy for people to upload them in exactly that way. There were a couple papers that did some roundups, and this was our. You can do a search for like best Google guitar songs, and you'll hear people who are playing Stairway to Heaven or other stuff like that. But it was like, come on, carry on with it. Make it easy for people to submit. They got the cool doodle, and they didn't have the follow through after that.
I think you'd have to have a camera and record it. Here's somebody who did the.
Planet has the same spin.
Who's talking? Oh, this is the...
it's YouTube.
It's the YouTube, so there's narration. Wow, there's nothing really quite as dynamic as a lunar eclipse.
Side faces its parent. So our moon is not the oddball. It's not an oddball. Tidal forces have done this to absolutely...
Hey, you know what would be cool is if I played the music from the Google Doodle.
So there it is. There's the same features that we always see because
behind
that's the side that always faces us.
I think that's a really interesting point you raised there, Bob, because
I thought our shows were boring.
as we learn more and more as we learn about the universe around us, what once appeared to be unique and special,
This guy's a little overawed.
isn't as unique and special as we thought it was or wanted it to be. And things such as
I'll turn off the
planets,
eclipse.
exoplanets around other stars.
That's really This is from geek.com. PC Magazine creative director Chris Phillips. Oh no, that's not
Rockwell's
this.
Canon.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty cool. I didn't know you could use a keyboard. Actually, okay. Let's.
Yeah, you had to turn off Google Instant to make it work.
Oh,
But
that's
also
what it was.
Yeah,
Dang.
that's another thing. It's like they don't explain this. You're just like, could it be that hard for you to maybe they're doing more of these interactive things.
It's discovery.
And it's fun if you write about them because then you can discover this stuff and explain to people that, the test tubes. Remember when they did the test tube thing and if you moved it really fast, it was going to go boiling. There are all sorts of different things going on. But, it's nice if there were some instructions. I
think of it as like Easter eggs, right? I'm sure they treat it kind of like that.
I mean, yeah, there's that too. You kind of don't want to take away, you got to discover it. But then,
This is Lady Gaga. This is paparazzi.
Okay, that is awesome.
I don't know if that's
what about that sounds so good. I was so frustrated. I kept trying to use the keyboard, but it kept executing a search, and I couldn't figure out why because I had read instructions somewhere, and so now I know I had to turn Instant off.
You should have gone to search engine land. He would have explained it all.
It should have said something like, "It looks like you're trying to play the guitar."
Right.
Did you need to play the guitar?
Microsoft would have done that. Okay, here's
This is the new Google Instant, yes.
Here's where we violate copyright and probably get this video pulled off of YouTube. Ironically, because it's a YouTube video of a guy doing Beatles music.
I like that. Guy with really good voice.
Yeah, guy with really good voice. You don't want to miss that. He's actually the lead singer of the band After Edmund.
The Google guitar. Thought I'd play a song.
So he's actually a...
Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart. Then you can
Okay, so for people just tuning in, you might think this is kind of dumb until you realize he's doing this with the Google search page.
With the logo. The logo.
He's playing the Google logo.
It's crazy. Better than Pac-Man, I'd say.
Really? Should we say it's the
probably
best
musicians.
Google Doodle of all time?
Maybe I take back my
so.
better than Pac-Man. If you're a
Pac-Man was pretty
musician.
good.
It's pretty cool.
Pac-Man had a habit of starting to play the Pac-Man music when you weren't expecting it to, which upset a
Yeah,
lot of
that
people.
was a little annoying.
Google Pac-Man's the only one that survived, though, right? The Google actually saved.
No, all the logos have been saved.
Really?
Even when Google doesn't say, "Oh, here's our special save place," you just go to their special Google logos page. A search for Google logos should bring it up, and then you go to the page, and all their logos are there, and they're listed by date, and that's their permanent location.
Oh. I'm sorry. I shouldn't really be playing Pac-Man. So you can go back in time. That's another great tip from Danny Sullivan of SearchEngineLand.com, ladies and gentlemen. So you search by date?
Just search for Google logo, and then the first page you should get should say something like Google Holiday Logos, which is, again, a sort of a dumb name for it. But that's where you can go through and see all the different logos that they've done.
Oh, look at this,
that
by
are listed
year.
there.
And you
then
get different
they
countries
have-
as well that way.
They should have links to some of the interactive ones that kind of come up that way.
Interesting.
So
yeah, they
you
were
can-
originally holiday logos, weren't they? But I mean,
Yeah. In fact, I did this post. It was like all the Google logos. I think it'll bring it up.
These are
I gotta
fan
go back
logos.
and finish it up. But I did this post. It was called. You can search for it. It's called "Those Special Google Logos Sliced and Diced." And I did it about a year ago. And I actually went through and categorized all the logos by what was the most popular holiday and what was the most, favorite national day that was celebrated. And I need to finish picking up the project. I don't because I don't know, I just like to do it. But they've got all these crazy logos, and the one thing that you'll find when they do this is the logos never happen on any time that you would expect it.
No.
This was like the 92nd anniversary of Les Paul, right? And then they'll do something for like the 23rd anniversary, the 72nd anniversary, and it's really rare for them to actually do something like on the 100th or the 10th. But
I was surprised they didn't do anything for IPv6 Day last week. I thought since they were behind it.
They'll celebrate the 3rd anniversary of that.
Yeah, right. It was IPv6 Day. This is a great article, Danny. You know what I'm sad about? And you must be sad about this, too. When I did a search for those special Google logos, I got the very first thing I got looks like a demand media site.
Oh, no.
Technews.am, is that you?
Wah, wah.
And then All Things D. And then searchengineland.com.
See, that's all your personalized results. I get something different.
Oh, is it? Well, I wish they had a -1. I'll just +1 you.
Yeah,
there we go.
So you can do that. Actually, it's interesting. I'm signed out, and I get mine is coming up second. I don't know which one's coming up there. I see All Things D. Hey, I'll take All Things D. They were just linking over to us, so that was
That's
nice.
good. That's better than nothing.
Yeah. I get Danny first. Signed in.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So why does Google think I'm the cheese ball?
Yeah, I don't know.
You are your Google search
Go
results,
demand on
Leo.
it, yes.
Look at this. I've not seen this before. Did you see? Have you ever seen this before? After I +1'd it, it said, "You +1'd this publicly."
Well, Google's very, very worried now that ever since that whole
you have to log
FTC
into
thing at
+1
Google
things.
Buzz, that they want you to know you did this.
I was logged in when I did it. That's weird. One little complaint for +1. I put on my blog. I'm ashamed to admit, but I put like buttons on there because you got to kind of have like buttons nowadays if you want to drive traffic. You must use like buttons, Danny, right?
We have them. It's interesting. I'm about to do a post where having them on our pages doesn't really. We'd serve out like maybe 50,000 impressions in a day, and you get 22 likes. And
that's about right.
We have them there because I think it still makes sense to do it, and I think it help in other ways. But I think a lot of the activity for us and perhaps other sites happens on Facebook itself.
So I put a like button there because I am able they have a space in the JavaScript to specify a URL. See, I have multiple posts on a single page, so by specifying the URL to be the permalink for the entry, I can actually have, but I can't put a +1 button there because +1 doesn't give me that feature. It just takes the whole page.
Oh, yeah.
So I only could put the +1 button on the specific permalink page, which I do, but it's kind of sucky because I'd like to put it on the total blog page where it would be seen far more times, right?
Oh, it's a slight design mistake. Yeah.
I just thought I'd say that. I know we have a few people listening at Google.
It'll be fixed by the end of the show.
It might be.
You'd have to. You've got to be careful because you have to have the same domain thing. Otherwise, you could spoof people.
Right.
So you'd have to say, okay, it is within the same domain.
What would be the negatives of spoofing?
Oh,
we can put +1 buttons on a page that will then promote something else.
That's true.
That was happening though with Facebook. I think that people were using the Facebook buttons and behind the scenes making it so that if you were clicking on something else, I can't remember what it was, but like if you were
could specify for any like button, you could you could specify for any like button a URL.
Right.
Right. So you can
stuff
make it look like somebody liked something
Yes.
other than what they're looking at.
And if you put some code in that URL, you could do something. And here's an example. Let's say I'm Amazon logged in. I've got a cookie on Amazon for one click. If you put an Amazon buy link in there, would it just go through? Unless they sanitize their inputs, it probably would. So there's a flaw.
Yeah.
There's a flaw. And I'm sure what Google's going to say is, no, because a +1 is for a page. So if you'd have a +1 button on anywhere on any page, you're +1ing that page.
Well, Google would say that get is supposed to be idempotent because that's the kind of thing Google would say. So.
Idempotent, is that the phrase?
Yes.
I suspect they just didn't think about it.
I told my wife that last night. Honey, I'm idempotent.
Danny, about your sort of low level of likes on your pages, I have this theory that our audience, like the geek audience, just isn't as likely to use Facebook. I got that sense in conversations at Food Camp. I have a hard time finding developers to work on the Facebook plugin for my open source application, because I just have a lot of developers who outright say, I don't have a Facebook account and I'm not going to open one. So, I don't know. It's just kind of a theory. But that seems like a very low level of activity on your like buttons on your site. But your site targets a pretty geeky audience.
They're too geeky.
Yeah, well, it's weird. I mean, what surprised me is that, you will get some posts that, will have hundreds of likes on them. But those are posts that have gone, viral on Facebook itself, independently of the site.
Right.
I see this with LinkedIn, right? We have huge amounts of traffic coming in from LinkedIn. We don't have a single LinkedIn button on the site. I'm going to change that just because I'm feeling bad about it now. But but there's this whole activity that's happening on LinkedIn that's working independently of the buttons. Facebook, when I talked with them about it, they were like, well, you've got to be even more social, and you need to have the like buttons at the top and at the bottom. And it's leading me to the point of thinking I'm just going to write articles that are nothing but a giant like button, and maybe that will that will do it.
That sounds like a good social media strategy, Danny. I think you should try that.
Every article is a giant like button.
Actually, the most likes I ever got was on the post where I said, I'm going to put a like button on here, but I do not like it. and I got 188 likes on that one. So I don't know what the hell's going on. By the way, thank you. Our chat room has said there is a way in the advanced portion of the, let me see if I can find it here. Where is it? Here it is. In the advanced, so these are the add +1 to your website, google.com/webmasters/+1/button. And if you go to advanced, you can actually put a URL in there. And since I could put it looks like I could put arbitrary PHP in there, I'll be able to put the PHP code for the permalink into that. So I guess I can fix this. So Google did know about it, unless they just added it. I think they did not. I think it was there and I just didn't notice. So thank you for correcting me. I was wrong. So would you say not to? It shouldn't. It's funny because Bradley Horowitz was coming around with +1 buttons at Food Camp. Did you get one?
Real.
I did.
Yeah, little, like lapel pins. And
Yes.
when he gave me mine, I said, I like that. And I thought, I shouldn't have said that. That was probably a mistake. So yesterday, Danny, Google had a live event announcing some interesting new features in search.
Yes. And we had cupcakes, too.
And you live blogged it, of course.
I did. The announcements came kind of fast and furious. There wasn't anything that was really on its own like this big thing. Like the last time they did one of these big search events, it was for Google Instant, which really was this big, huge change. Yesterday, it was a bunch of sort of more incremental things. Actually, some of the stats I thought most interesting were some of the stats that they shared that you're showing there.
Look at this. Search traffic by day of week. The worst day for search on the desktop is Saturday.
Yeah, but what he's saying is, and that was the thing, he's saying, you look at that and you think, well, at the weekend, nobody's searching. But then when you look at the mobile traffic, when the desktop traffic goes down, the mobile traffic spikes. And so what he was talking about was that, basically we're going to continue to search wherever we can go, and we're doing it on our devices more, which led into the first part of their analysis.
So Alice Cooper was right. Everybody's searching on the weekend. I'm sorry.
I don't quite remember it that way, but
really sorry. Apologize. Continue, please.
They should have had him there singing that. That would have been great.
That would have been cool.
That would have been.
So that's actually really interesting that mobile just peaks on the weekend. That's really interesting.
It was very much so. And in fact, they did also by time of day. That's the next thing that you see there. And you'll see that what happens is you get a little lunchtime slump, as they called it, right? It comes lunchtime, so everybody is going off to eat. But then when they went to the mobile, and then in the evening, nobody's searching. And then the mobile, they said, you see a lunchtime peak. It was funny. It was saying, so everybody's like eating with one hand and searching with the other. And then
they're searching where to go for lunch, aren't they?
They're searching where do we go? Exactly. Where should we go?
Exactly. Should we go eat?
Yeah.
But so they rolled out these mobile changes. I think the most dramatic thing was if you go to Google in your mobile browser now, at the bottom of the page, you get these little icons that, say find a local restaurant near you, or find.
And that's why.
Here, it's really interesting. It kind of keeps you away from doing the kind of browse type of search. And there's some of the buttons that I don't know if you can see it on there, but I can't even find my camera there. But it's like restaurant and coffee and martinis, bars.
Is that is that at google.com?
That's it. That's what you get if you go to google.com in your mobile browser now. In fact, here I am on my mobile browser, and this is right at the very bottom. And you'll see it's saying restaurants, coffee, bars, and then there's a little more button. And they're just icons. And if I click on one of those icons, I'll see whatever is sort of closest to me. Like I clicked on coffee, and it brings up and it tells me that Alta, which is a nice coffee restaurant around here, is popping up right near at the top. And so, a lot of these things that you do on your mobile browser, you're going to do the same things all the time. I need a restaurant near me. So that's a common thing. And so here's Google not even making you having to type in restaurant. You just push a button, you get it.
It's kind of funny. I mean, how many people go to google.com on their mobile browser? That would be my guess.
Well,
apparently somebody does.
Yeah, some people do.
The button as well, the search button, right?
Does it? Let me see. I mean, so what I did is I went to google.com and Safari, but what am I? No, because that's what I do is when I search. So what am I going to search for? Lunch?
Search for Captain Crunch and see what you...
Did you see that I was searching for Captain Crunch? You did. Yeah. And that was because... Oh, never mind.
There's previous searches, yes.
Yes, I was...
What other cereal will rip up the top of my mouth now? What's going to happen?
Well, I was worried that they had discontinued Captain Crunch. I had heard that rumor, but as it turns out, it was just a rumor that still Quaker Oats will continue to make Captain Crunch. So I've searched for lunch... I'm getting the Wikipedia entry explaining what lunch is, which I guess that's okay. I'm places for lunch near where I am. Aha, look at that. That's very good. That's the Google Places. This is becoming more important. Boy, I tell you, you see people, I've just heard about a company, I shall remain nameless, Yellow Pages, that is charging people hundreds of dollars a month, saying we'll drive lots of traffic if you have an online entry at yp.com. And if you just Google something, this is how people find stuff. This is and it's free. Google Places. Why pay for something? Lunch 2.0. Oh, that's interesting.
And if you click on any of those entries, you see the little preview next to it?
Yeah.
Over there on your right-hand side. If you click, go down to one of the actual listings. See onto your right.
Oh, look,
there's a little button there.
I'm getting
and if
previews.
you click on that should let you know you can start flipping through.
Oh.
And this is
that's a neat feature.
That before, but they stressed it again that you have... This is sort of Google Instant Previews.
They just recently added that. I remember we talked about it on the show, yeah. So one of the things that they found when they looked at search results...
That's nice.
Huh? Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's a cool feature.
Kevin's looking at that. Never saw that, right? One of the things
I missed that bit of the demo. It's nice.
Yeah. One of the things that they found out in stats, and they have a graph to show it, is that lots of people are using speech now... to search on Google Mobile, and I really love. I mean, whoops. Let me get that camera. That's one of the things.
And that led into this other thing that they've added, which is, if you have an Android phone or using the Google app for iPhone, you can talk to the phone and it will do the searches for you. Android's amazing because you can talk to the phone and do any number of actions as well. I do it all the time. I'll hold down the search button. I'll say navigate to someplace I want to go, and it's fired up the GPS and it's directing me.
Awesome?
Within a minute.
Or send text or send email. And
has it got less laggy? Because I always used to find it would sit there for ages and you have to slap it for it to work.
It depends on your connection. Sometimes if you have a good connection, it's almost instant.
I find it's been working really well. I mean, to the degree that I actually make use of it, which is something that they stressed in the talk, which was the more that they get the voice accuracy right, the more that people start to use it more and more and go back to it. They feel like I can trust it.
Right.
And so now they brought it to our desktop, which seems kind of weird because I don't quite know that I'm going to be sitting around on my desktop and doing a search and then say, oh, I want to talk to my computer and do the search when I have a keyboard there. But maybe... and maybe it'll help drive awareness that there's voice search available, period, which might cause more people to do it on their mobile devices.
So how do I do it on? Is it available now on Chrome?
It's not. It's in Chrome 13, which is like the Canary dev channel. But you can. And this was my tip, but it's fine. I'll come up with another one. You can enable it in experiments right now. There is a voice experiment that you can enable.
Oh, good. Well, we'll save that, and we will show you how to do that in Gina's tip.
Anyway, go ahead, Danny. I want to hear about the cupcakes too.
Oh, the cupcakes! I just tweeted a picture of those.
Are they from Magnolia? Who are they from? Who's the cupcake company out here? Citizen Cake, right?
Is it?
No, let me see. What?
We probably have different ones down south. I'd have to look them up.
Yeah. Where's down south? Down south of California?
Down south. Gina and I are close enough. I'm in Orange County. She's in San Diego. So
Yeah, San Diego.
Where's the Eileen? Where's the cupcake place in San Francisco? Do they have one in Mountain? Where was the event? Was it Danny? Was it in San Francisco?
It was at the Yerba Buena Center for the Performing Arts.
Oh, yeah, those are some good-looking cupcakes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Did you find it there? Yeah.
Is that on search
all right. We should
engine
probably talk
land?
about Instant Pages, but I had to
No.
check out.
I want to see. It's lunchtime. I want cupcakes.
We got to see the cupcake. It was actually I got the Twitter, doing their own image hosting now, and I just saw it pop up for the first time today that I could do it from within my Twitter account. So I thought, I'll throw some cupcakes out there and see how it goes.
So it's Twitter. I got to go to twitter.com. What's your Twitter handle?
It's Danny Sullivan. Twitter.com/Danny Sullivan, and then if
Interesting. Pick.twitter.com. Yeah, that's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah, they just launched that, huh?
Yeah. So they said they would be rolling it out to people over the coming weeks, and so I saw it. So I'm like, wow, I've got a little photo button. I can upload this. So I probably should go back and do a blog post, but I figured somebody had already done that by this point. So
it should just appear.
If you keep going, it was earlier this morning.
You have to click it, I think.
We're going to talk about those Chromebooks in just a bit.
Didn't Marissa Mayer invest in a cake company?
I think you're right. Yeah, there it is. See where it says "Hey," and then if you click on the little button to the end of it,
Ooh.
Yeah, those look yummy. And branded.
Inside search. Isn't that great?
I brought two home for my kids, actually. I managed to get them into my bag, into a cup, and they didn't know if they could eat the things on the top. I said, no, you're safe. Google's not going to poison you.
It's all delicious. Even the little badges.
Now, see, the other thing you could do is you could take that picture, and that was the thing I thought was most interesting with the search by picture feature they rolled out yesterday. And this lets you literally take a picture, you can drag it and drop it into the search box on Google, and it will go out and find other pictures that seem to be similar to it. And it's kind of neat. If you've got, say, some place that you've been at, you're not quite certain where that is located at, it may find matches, or may find other kinds of things that match. Sometimes it gets it horribly wrong, but it's not perfect. And that's supposed to roll out to everybody over the coming week. You'll know when you get it, they said, because you'll see a little camera icon that will appear when you're at Google Images. And there's some extensions and other things that you can do.
Shoot, I was going to search for cupcakes.
Danny, did you get a chance to try that out? Did they roll it? Did they give it to the folks in attendance?
I have it. See,
do you have it?
The camera icon.
You have it. I don't even have it.
Let me drag cupcakes here.
Yeah.
Let's get some more cupcakes. Let's see how smart it is.
Pick.
Whoa.
Uploading file. That's kind of kooky. And now
I am
thinking.
turning green right now.
I may have crashed it. Wait a minute. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Now what? Nothing.
Got some errors.
Let's go back to.
Gina, I played with a bunch of things. I pulled a bunch of pictures off my blogs of places like when I was in Alaska, just like a mining village, and I dropped it in there and it found the location. So it did work pretty well. And then there were occasions where you're like, wow, you totally didn't get that right at all.
It kind of didn't. It's broken.
Places, like identifying places seem to be the thing that they demoed, the thing that they kind of pointed out as the use case. But I'm wondering about things like plants, animals, like food. Are the limitations similar to Google Goggles, which says basically we're not so good at plants and flowers, but we are good at other things?
It seemed to be. They didn't say that there was any particular thing it was good or necessarily bad at. It really seemed to be, if there are a lot of pictures that are similar to what you're looking for, it'll probably have a better chance of finding something.
Right.
I asked them specifically about facial recognition, and you know what I bet's happening is that logo.
It's that stupid logo's breaking it. Google Doodle is breaking image search.
But they said they're not doing facial recognition where they're trying to, really go and use.
I don't want the eclipse. Go away.
But they are, like in one case, I gave it a picture of some smokestacks that were at an angle, and it couldn't find where that was located at, and yet I'd done it in a sepia tone or whatever, and it matched some photos that were amazingly of the same kind of colored background in that instance. So it's looking for color matches, certain kind of pattern matches, and other things, which is why you kind of get the misses that come up in sometimes.
It says, now, because I'm using an experimental version of Google Search, should I turn that off? Maybe.
Yeah, turn off leave all your
I've got
experiments.
+1. So just leave my experiments?
Yeah, maybe,
Isn't image search one of the experiments?
No. Instant on images, no. So let me, okay, now I am a kind of like vanilla Google experience. Let's go back to google.com. See, it doesn't say, okay, no, okay. Let's see this. I think that's what's breaking it, is that slider. Okay, go back to images. Still have the little camera. See, search by
I want
image.
that camera so bad it hurts.
I don't know why I lucked out. Okay, I'm dragging cupcakes because I want more cupcakes.
I sure don't have it.
Oh!
There you go.
It was, but the cupcakes are all people.
Oh, but definitely color matching.
But they're
going on there.
cupcake-like people.
Yeah, let's do that again.
Okay.
Let's do that with one of. So here's Van Gogh's Starry, Starry Night. Let's see what happens there.
Use the ones they guarantee to work.
And look, yeah, that's the ones they look. Similar images. They're all the same.
I just tried goggles on a picture of the plant behind me, and it did find similar-looking plants, but
that's good. Let me see if I have other.
but mostly the same color, actually.
Grab anything on your desktop and throw it in there, and
Yeah, I'll just see what happens. Here's a picture of Twitter.
So the results are other
Oh,
images.
it guessed
no, it
Twitter.
tells you- yeah, that's great.
Well, of course, it had that in the name.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Here, let me get a picture of me. This is the ultimate vanity search, right?
exactly.
Let's see. I'll go to images, search for Leo Laporte. Okay, now I've got a picture of me. Let's get a good picture. Okay, I'm going to drag that to the desktop. Oh, you can drop it there. I could just do it.
Yeah, you can do that. You should be able to right-click and search.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of other extensions and ways to do it, too. When you have the Chrome extension or the Firefox extension, it's very nice because if you're on a website with a picture, you can right-click and tell it search by picture.
I can't really drag. There it is.
There you
Drop
go.
image here. It guessed my name. Got lots more images. Well, that works. That actually, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, those are other images from that same shoot, right, Leo? It looks like it's doing a
they
good
are.
job.
It's not only they're from the same shoot.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting?
It makes sense. I mean, that's if you use Picasso, it ends up doing that, right?
Right.
When you give it one face, it'll recognize the faces from the same sequence because the lighting and the hair and everything was similar enough that it would know it. It takes a while to get the more generic ones.
I'm trying to drag these. I don't know why I have so much trouble dragging stuff. All right. Well, anyway, I'm sorry. I'm just getting sidetracked here, but I just think that's kind of cool.
This is a Twig tradition. Ego searches are a Twig tradition. So. It's okay.
I just want to say the one with the beer
This is
belly
like
is
tonight.
photoshopped. That is not really me. Just so you know. It's looking like it uses some text as well. I mean, like the tags and so forth. But that would make sense. Why wouldn't it? Should use every bit of the thing it can use.
Yes, it's actually doing geolocation by looking inside the image for geolocation tags.
Yeah, why not? So anything else they announced? What else did they announce?
I think the last thing, if I remember correctly, was they did this Google Instant Pages, which is where they will preload or pre-render a page that they think you're going to click on in the search results.
How do they know?
Well, they're guessing. I mean, they're doing a search and
They picked the top one.
it's the top one, which is most likely what you're going to click on. They're not doing it, though, for every search. So it's a bit weird between when they think you're most likely to do it, and I suspect when they think it's worthwhile pulling down data from a website that might not mind them doing it. But basically, behind the scenes, they're loading up probably the first page in those search listings,
Right.
guessing that you're going to click on it, and so that when you do, the page is right there. You're not waiting for everything to load up. And it's similar to how they had been working through Firefox to do prefetching, which was they pulled the first page in the search results HTML code, but then all the images would still have to come in. And
But
when I was
Firefox got in
yesterday-
trouble for that, didn't they? I mean, people yelled at them for that.
They did. You know, everybody yells at everything at first.
Well, I mean, so that's what I was saying about idempotent. So I should explain what that actually means. The way when you do a HTTP GET, it's supposed to not matter if you do the same GET, you should get the same thing. And it shouldn't have side effects. That's what idempotent means. And so if you build your pages properly, it shouldn't matter whether you fetch the same page twice or get it from a proxy or anything like that. It should be the same thing. And the problem is if you use a get to actually have a side effect on the server, then you can get into all kinds of trouble on the web.
Say the server increments a number every time the page is loaded.
Right.
That will increment that number. But aren't most pages dynamic now? How does that impact it?
Well, the dynamic pages are constructed by running JavaScript after you've done the gets. So one of the things they did with this was that it's not just prefetching the page, it is actually pre-rendering it. So it's doing everything it would do to render that page, just putting it off screen, and then when you click, it takes it straight through. So it doesn't
do another get at that point?
No. But this is the thing that Chrome does that Firefox doesn't do. It's not just prefetching, it's not just downloading the bits and having them ready. It's actually creating the whole rendering surface, doing everything we do, starting the JavaScript running, and so on. And one of the demos they did, they showed it where they were clicking on the image and it had some kind of rotating slideshow, and the slideshow had already rotated twice before they'd actually clicked through it because the JavaScript was running in the background.
So if I search for something on Danny's site and Chrome pre-renders in the background because it's the first result, so the time it takes me to move my mouse and click on it, it does that. If I don't click on that result, it looks to Danny in Danny's logs like I have looked at the page when I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, unless my analytics tool or I've done other things to look for the clues that will tell me that, oh, that was just Google pre-rendering the page. It wasn't an actual human visitor, of which I haven't even bothered to do yet because I'm still resting up.
Can you do that by IP address? How would you do that?
When I talked with them briefly about it yesterday, they said there were all sorts of technical docs.
The referrer might look different. The referrer would be Google, right?
Well, no, it's your browser.
No. It's the browser.
Oh. Your browser is pre-fetching and rendering.
Oh.
That's what. I mean, I imagine that Google Analytics has this built. I mean, if you use Google Analytics, I imagine that Analytics has something.
Maybe there's a flag.
But basically, the browser has to let the page know a human is actually looking at this somehow when you actually do the click. So I'm sure that there's white or Python generated files in Google.
There's a page visibility API, which lets you tell if the page is actually visible or not, which is also useful if if your tab isn't frontmost.
Okay, well that makes sense.
I mean, if they're pre-rendering the page, I don't know that they're then also executing all the JavaScript, which would be what you'd need to have running for Google Analytics to register.
That's a good point too. The analytics is part of the page.
Right, and then, for example, like if you're using Chartbeat, it's constantly pinging back and forth to tell that somebody's there, so maybe that's not running. But it was like what happened when Firefox first started doing this, and Google and Firefox were doing it. Like within the first month, a lot of people were really concerned this was going to mess up their analytics, that they were going to get all these things registering in their analytics that were people who really weren't there or didn't click through.
So I've done a Google search. Is this turned on Google search now?
I believe it's coming up.
Not yet.
Coming up in the next versions of Chrome. So Chrome 13.
You need to be on the Chrome dev build to see it at the moment, I think they said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I look right now, as I am at TWiT, it's not prefetching anything in Chrome.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it depends.
What they said is it's like when you click on a link and to put it into a new tab, it does the same amount of work as it would do to create that tab, and then when you switch to the tab, except it's doing it with an invisible tab.
And I didn't click.
And you didn't click.
Which is the significant issue.
You see where this is all going. You no longer have to search nor either go to websites. And in fact, if you just turn your computer on, it will
going to load all your sites.
Yeah.
I think you'll be later. You'll be not a good idea. Well, I can see where that's going to screw up analytics. It is kind of a competitive advantage for Google Analytics, isn't it? Because presumably they account for it.
Well, they're talking about how others can do it too, but
Yeah, I'm QuantCast and ComScore and all these guys will Chartbeat. I use QuantCast Analytics and Chartbeat. What I should do is compare the three and see if there's a significant difference.
And web developers can use the pre-rendering technology on their sites too. Like you can put a link rel attribute in your HTML, which you specify the page that you think that the user might click next.
That's
like
good.
if you have like a next page of posts or something like that. So it's not just for Google search results, which is kind of nice. So you can kind of speed up your site too if it makes sense.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you could tell that from the analytics of people, 80% of the people go to this page after they go to that page, so preload this page.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yep.
I've preloaded my Netflix page. We're going to take a break. Danny Sullivan is here from SearchEngineLand.com. Gina Trapani from smarterware.org and ThinkUpApp.com. Kevin Marks from Salesforce.com. Go to his new. What is this Chatter.com, Kevin? What is Chatter?
So Chatter is like Twitter or Facebook for the people inside your company. It basically gives you that stream of updating events that's tied to all the things that are going on internally. So you sign up for it with your work email address, and you can create an internal activity stream full of the events that you send to each other and any actions you take as part of the business stuff.
That's actually really cool. We are currently using IRC kind of like that. We have an IRC, a back channel on IRC that's always running.
Right. Yeah. That's the sort of classic way of doing that. Many sort of web projects work that way. And but what you've seen is that not everyone wants to run IRC, and also they like the richer rendering and the links that you get. That's more like a Facebook stream.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's good to have all three of you. We'll talk more in just a second. You're watching This Week in Google, brought to you this week by Netflix and Netflix streaming. It is the simplest, hassle-free way to get movies right away into your computer or your gaming system, your console, your Roku box, your Apple TV, pretty much everybody. This is the gold standard for streaming now. I mean, if you're selling a box or a TV that has internet connectivity, you've got to support Netflix. Watch instantly, and I just love it. Tens of thousands of wonderful movies. I never plan ahead anymore. I don't have to. I get home, and I know I'm going to have a great movie waiting for me or a great TV show waiting for me. Every time I go here, there's something new, which is also kind of fun. I want you to try it out for free for 30 days. This is $7.99 a month. But you could try it free for 30 days by going to netflix.com/twit. Cancel anytime. There's no contract. It's as easy to turn off as it is to turn on, but you're never going to want to turn it off. Xbox 360, PS3, Nintendo, Wii. Just look at all these movies. Look at them. I love this. I don't know how they figure this out, but they know where I am, and they say, here's the favorites. Here's what people in your town are watching. Wild. It's really fun. Netflix.
Your town has taste.
Yeah, I think we've got Battlestar Galactica. These are all the ones I watch. I must be the only one using it in my town. Shaun the Sheep, Parks and Rec, The Office. Okay, Bill Burr. I don't know who he is. These are what people in Petaluma are watching. Oh, Busy Town. Who doesn't love Busy Town? And Playtime for Kipper. It's kind of interesting to see what your neighbors are watching, isn't it? I actually never really paid any attention to this. Netflix.com/twit. Find out what your neighbors are watching and watch it too. Free for the next 30 days. So that was the search event. Danny, you think a worthwhile event? Not as exciting as Instant Search, but still, that's a lot of new features. Mostly Chrome features, though, which is kind of interesting.
Well, they rolled out, I think it was search by, I can't remember which one it was that rolled out, and it was both for Chrome and for Firefox, but it wasn't for Internet Explorer, which was interesting because they probably could have supported that easily as well. And some of the other things were just Chrome only. They'll almost certainly come to the other browsers, though they do tend to do that.
Right. It's inevitable. Moving, I guess we've covered the search event. Moving on to patents. Why not?
My favorite kind of news story.
What a subject. Well, first of all, Apple and Nokia settled their long-standing fight back and forth. Both are suing each other. It looks like Nokia won this round. Apple will be paying them a large undisclosed amount, enough to change Nokia's bottom line, they said in the press release, and ongoing royalties. I've heard some people say as much as $300 million. Now, we got to check other patent lawsuits. This is a never-ending story. Although one of the things that companies do, like Google, is they buy patents from other people. Google bid for Nortel's patents, probably for defensive purposes, right, Kevin?
Yes. That is primarily what they're after. Is they want the patents to expand the patent portfolio. Because Google doesn't tend to use patents offensively. I don't think they've done that ever. but also their goal is generally just to make sure that they can implement their stuff.
That just shows you how big a deal this is, because they offered $900 million for the Nortel patents. It's almost worth $1 billion. The Justice Department has concluded now that Google could own these patents.
So they're just making a bet that this will be less than what their future legal fees would be if they didn't have these defensive patents.
Isn't that amazing?
It is truly amazing. It's sad.
Yeah.
All that brain power going to this.
We got to do something.
It's horribly wasteful.
Yeah, got to do something about this. It's just not. This patent system's terrible. Google has changed my maps to my places. I've used my maps before because I use that Google tracking program, My Tracks, on Android, and then you can save your tracks. It was kind of fun. I played we played all day the company paintball game, or I guess it was laser tag, and I ran my tracks, and it's fun to watch me running all around like this. So now places, does this mean Hotpot and places are now part of Google Maps? I'm not sure what this impact of this is.
It sounds like they're just trying to simplify things. I feel like Maps and Reader have this problem where there's all these different ways to mark things. Like, this is my favorite, this is a place I've been, this is a place I've rated, this is the thing I want to share, this is the thing I want to tag, a comment. And so this particular update to Maps, although honestly I haven't looked at it, I don't do a whole lot of curation with Maps. Just looks like they're sort of simplifying things of like, any place that you visited, bookmarked, rated, or saved to a map, like any place that you've indicated there's some sort of,
Apparently, I was in Paris in April.
There you go.
Actually, this might be places you've searched for too, right? Not just places you've been to. Although it's pretty interesting. I mean, these are all places I've been to, and I guess rated or something, or somehow indicated. Maybe I checked in. I use Latitude, so I check in all the time. So yeah, you've got a history there. Wow. I hope this
I want Google to make this stuff just easier, like one indicator. I'm kind of hoping that +1 will just be the single canonical way to indicate this is something that means something to me.
It does tell you, so I rated this place, I reviewed this place, I reviewed this place. So it does tell you kind of how you came to it.
Yeah, I've got nothing about this.
Yeah, I'm going through it, and I've done it's things that you've mapped. I've made a whole bunch of custom maps myself. When we have like the 4th of July down here gets crazy, and so I've done a custom map to explain to people how to get onto our peninsula and get off it and things like that. So I'm looking at it now, and I can see that all that stuff is organized, and those were my maps before. They literally were just my maps. Things that I've starred, although apparently I haven't starred anything, so there's nothing there. And apparently I reviewed TechCrunch Ranch.
By the way, here's the laser tag map that just showed up on the list too. That's me running around shooting at people.
Nice.
That's weird.
Oh, excellent.
That's awesome. It's like modern art.
Video
in motion.
It's really fun when you put the satellite on. Oh, nasty.
Was that you using Latitude and it was just tracking it?
No, this is something called Google Tracks. It's an Android app.
Okay.
Tracks is great.
My Tracks. I love it. And so that was kind of fun.
Hang on. So how do I link to one of these maps? Because I've gone to one of mine. I can't find the URL.
Well, they're in. Did you have in My Maps?
Okay.
And then it shows stuff you've bookmarked, which is kind of interesting. I like this. This is kind of fun. This is nice to have.
The things I put on this one seem to fall into the sea. That's kind of weird.
You could share it. I'll be using My Tracks more. Share my my random walk. You had some reviews, Danny. The Chromebooks are now available for sale. And did you talked a little bit about this on Search Engine Blog?
Yeah, it was mainly, I've yet to actually play with one myself, the new ones. I had the CR48 and looked at it. But now, everybody has access to them, supposedly, that you can go out and go to, either Amazon or Best Buy, and if you want one of these Chromebooks, you can shell out your $400 or so, $400 to $500 for them. So they're there, although they're not, because as it turns out, Amazon... We were supposed to have both Acer editions and Samsung editions out today, and the Acer ones have all been held up. And that's kind of important because the Acer ones are the cheaper ones. You can get into an Acer edition for $380. And if you're not certain, maybe that $50 difference versus the lower end price of a Samsung one might make a difference. So Amazon has one of the 6 different models that are currently available from either Samsung or Acer that's out there. Best Buy has 2 of the 6 total models, which are 2 of the Samsung ones. And the Samsung ones on Best Buy, you can get them either with 3G built in, or you can get them as Wi-Fi built in. And so, yes, it's been 2.5 years since Google said we were going to have a Chrome OS computer, and now they've finally arrived to sweep us off our feet.
Anybody have one of these? Gina, do you have one?
No, not yet. I mean, they were supposed to send Google I/O
Yeah.
10
yeah,
to use
that's right.
one, and
Yeah.
I haven't gotten an email or I haven't received it in the mail. That's a long story about this product launch here, Danny. I'm like, I glazed over.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is like Android. There are so many different handsets, and it's hard to tell which one's better. That's sad that the most inexpensive one though isn't really available today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what surprised me was this is the big launch day, and then to go into Amazon and there weren't any real comparisons. I couldn't go through and easily see why I would want to go for the Acer versus the Samsung. Best Buy, when you look at the product pages for the 3G and the regular Wi-Fi only one, it didn't make it clear on either of those pages right up top what the differences were between them, which made me think that neither of these retailers, and these are your launch retailers, really kind of, for whatever reason, have gotten behind it, or maybe they weren't prepped enough to get behind it. And they've had plenty of notice that it was going to be coming. So it wasn't, I thought, a really good launch day for it. And, of course, there's nobody to line up in front of the Google store to buy one because we don't have a Google store.
This reminds me a lot of the Nexus 1 launch where, it just kind of goes out into space. And no wonder they don't sell stuff by retail because just doesn't
But
happen.
the other thing is, the real story here may be what happens in the business and education spaces.
I could see this for school makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they have separate programs for that where they say if you're a business and you want to deploy these things, you can buy them from us, and if you are a school and you want this sort of things, and these kinds of devices may make a lot more sense there. And the consumer products maybe will never sell that much except for the person who loves their Chromebook so much at work that they feel like they need to have their own edition of it. So it's still watch and see. But at least we'll find out what consumers think soon enough.
I fired up the CR48 when this was announced, and updated to the version just to see and play with it. And it's like, oh, it's Chrome. I mean, it doesn't feel like a computer.
It's one of those things, when you see somebody who's really attractive, and you're like, I see why this person is attractive. I just don't feel attracted to this person. Like, I get why other people would think this person is hot, but it's just not for me. And that's kind of how I feel about the Chromebook. Like, I would buy this for my nephew or for my in-laws. I just, it's hard to...
So you're saying it's the George Clooney of netbooks?
Kind of, yeah. I think Clooney is probably a good good example. Like, I get it,
I love it.
Not for me.
When the Chromebook, when the CR48 first came out, I mean, I got the demo one and it arrived. And I wrote my review, and I was done writing the review before my kids got home from school. So they got home, and I said, "Hey, check it out! It's the Google computer. Nobody has these. Go nuts!" And I talked it their way, and it was like 30 minutes later, they were done. They didn't care. They were going back for the old MacBooks.
Yeah,
and
it's like, I want a computer. Give me a
It
computer.
doesn't play
and
Minecraft.
It doesn't.
The
Actually, it
trackpad
could.
wasn't as nice. It was a working,
Right.
the ones that they sent out, the CR48s, are really kind of rugged. They weren't elegant computers.
They're not like the Chromebooks at all.
No, and they're nowhere near like, say, a MacBook Air, which is just a thing of beauty.
Right.
And so, but I think that's one of the hard things too, is that even if it's supposed to be this different kind mindset and different kind of computer, if I'm using a Mac Air and it's an elegant computer and everything loads up fairly quickly and it's really nice, and I'm not having all the hassles that go with it, like how do I get things off of my phone? Can I even get the music from my phone to one thing or the other? Because those things haven't gone away. You're going to be left underwhelmed. And then that may be the case for the next year, until cloud services maybe catch up to the degree that maybe you are weaned off of the more traditional computer.
But that's also why a business or a school might be interested in these, because they do so little.
Right.
You know.
Well, if you're running a business through the web, then they work. Yeah,
Right.
that makes a lot of sense. But you need to make sure that you're not. So many businesses start with sort of running some ancient version of DOS or Windows to run their point of sale systems. As we see that transition happen, these may make a lot more sense. Yeah.
And the pricing's different there too, right? Because you're not buying the computers; you're paying, I think, like
$20 a month,
or something for them.
Yeah.
And you have other costs there too, right? I mean, you're not going to have to upgrade these computers from Chrome 7 to Chrome 8. They update themselves, and that's a big issue for administrators that have to deal with this sort of stuff. For the consumer front, if you're thinking, well, I got $400 to spend, and I could probably get myself a Windows computer at that price that does all this other stuff, or I can get this other thing, and I don't know if I can do all these other things I want to do with it. You're probably discounting the fact that, well, did you buy the antivirus software? Would you need that, and all the other stuff? And that's probably not factoring into your mindset for the costs.
So what you're saying, Danny, is like, Gina, you're not a chromosexual.
No.
I'm just not that into you.
I'm just not into it.
I am open to all computer orientations, but and I happily go between both the Mac and the Windows platforms, although I orient more towards Windows. But Chrome has yet to come into my life.
It's the third species. We just don't know what to do with it. Yeah. Third gender. And we're going to take a break. Come back with more. Danny Sullivan is here. Kevin Marks, Gina Trapani, and we've got some rumors about the next Nexus. Speaking of the next, you're going to want this one. You're going to want this one. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you about Squarespace.com. It's the secret behind exceptional websites. It is really a great way for you to get a website up and running literally in minutes. Even a very fancy website with all sorts of connectivity and widgets and so forth is a snap with Squarespace. I want you to go to squarespace.com/twig6. We're going to have a different URL every month now. So squarespace.com/TWIG6 and sign up for the free trial. 15 days, no credit card required. In fact, I'll show you how easy it is. You click that green button, and all you need is a site name, a password, and an email address, and that's it. You create your website. Now you've got complete access to the Squarespace tools for the next 15 days. That means those great 60-plus designer styles, the fantastic social widgets, the Squarespace client for the iPhone and the iPad, free. You can import directly from your existing site using the classic APIs, movable type, WordPress, TypePad, or Blogger, and export too, so you're never stuck. And when I say import, I mean it works. Even all the permalinks, all the images, all the comments, they all get brought over. That's nice. They've got all the features everybody who does websites is looking for: photo galleries, forms, forums, and a server system that is the most robust in the business. It just never goes down. And that's what you're getting when you get Squarespace. You're getting hosting plus the best software out there. Very affordable, too. Prices start at $12 a month. But I'll tell you what, you sign up for more time, it costs even less. So it's a very good deal considering you're getting hosting and the best software out there. And automatic updates. I just went to my WordPress blog, and yes, I have another WordPress update I got to apply. And then it's 3.13, and then they say 1.32 is going to be out in a couple of weeks. And it's like, come on, how much time? I spend more time updating WordPress than I do posting blog posts. Not with Squarespace. It's all done automatically. Squarespace.com/twig6. You may ask why I continue to use WordPress. Well, somebody's got it. It's actually how I keep up on what's going on with WordPress, but I'm sorry. I'm trying to think. So here's the news on what some people are calling the Nexus 4G. This is from Boy Genius Report. These guys are good. I don't know where they get this stuff. Boy Genius Report has exclusively learned Google's next Nexus device, probably called the Nexus 4G, will feature a next-generation dual-core 1.2 or 1.5 gigahertz CPU, perhaps an OMAP 4460 or a Snapdragon, 28-nanometer Snapdragon. But this is what's interesting. 720p display. No more Android menu buttons at the bottom of the screen. We know that because of Honeycomb and Ice Cream Sandwich. Everything's going to be software-based.
I miss those.
Huh?
I miss those on the tablets.
I do too. I'm with you. I like the physical buttons. I'm going to miss it too. Or at least the kind of the one I have, the what is it? The LG G2X. At least has electronic buttons at the bottom, but they're buttons, not just on the screen. But that's what happens with the new tablets too. It's all screen based. There's nothing on the front. It's just, I guess, is it cheaper or just they think that's more modern?
Well, you can turn it any orientation, right?
That's right.
Yes, it's the orientation thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Orientation doesn't matter. It's chromosexual also.
It goes every way.
It goes every which way. 4G radio, gig of RAM. This is all from Boy Genius Report. It's all a rumor. 1080p HD video capture and playback. That's kind of become the standard now. They say a very good 5-megapixel rear-facing camera, delivering class-leading image quality and superior low-light performance. That's one way that the iPhone is really beating Android right now. The iPhone 4 has the best camera out there. Of course, it'll have a 1-megapixel front-facing camera. It will be running Ice Cream Sandwich, ultra-thin, Thanksgiving. No word about the carriers. Could be at AT&T. I mean, it's been T-Mobile all this time, but that T-Mobile AT&T acquisition is in process. It's possible they're just going to say go straight to AT&T. And BGR says this will be the flagship Ice Cream Sandwich device.
I think this will be the first phone that's actually more powerful than my first computer, which I got in like 1998.
Wow.
Yeah, I got to pull out that old receipt. I kept the receipt. I got to check.
It's more powerful than, it's almost as powerful as my MacBook Air. If it's dual 1.5 gigahertz CPUs, I mean, in a phone.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Gig of RAM in a phone. It's just kind of stunning.
But it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, it's like the phone is no better than its weakest link, right? So it can have dual processors, and yet if I can't get the 4G signal, who cares? If I'm stuck with the 3G signal, or if I'm stuck with the 3G signal, but I'm not getting all my throughput in the way that I'd want to have. So, and it was like the 720p thing kind of confuses me, because that's something you hear talked about more on televisions than on computer screens.
Who's going to watch a movie like this?
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's like if you take the Retina display on the iPhone, that is
720p, right?
Well, it's not. I mean, the P is how much the scan lines are happening.
Forget
right?
the P, but 720 lines.
Yeah.
So 720 lines. So the iPhone is 960 by 640. So it's not.
It's not quite. Yeah.
So it would even be more than.
But then when you start looking at, because I've gone through this, I just did a review when I was looking at the Droid Charge and the Thunderbolt and the iPhone, and like the Droid Charge has a big screen, it's 800 by 480 or whatever, so you can actually see a bit more, but you're always still having to blow pages up. I mean, the screens, they're still only going to be so large to the point that even if you had that resolution that you could have all the crisp type, you may very well still need to blow it up anyway just to read it, unless you're not as old as me, I suppose, or something.
No, that actually is a very legitimate point, because for here, as in this preview that Google's loaded, there's some. This is on an iPhone. There's some great detail there, but I can't read it. I mean, it's there, but what am I going to? I can't. I have to pinch.
But the 4G, if it's real 4G, which to me means Verizon 4G, that would be nice, because I just got the Sprint Nexus S mainly so I could have that as a reference phone, and so that whenever they roll out Google Wallet, I can play with it and see how that works.
Right.
But you're thinking, this is your flagship phone from Google. This should be the benchmark that everybody else is supposed to go at, and it's Sprint 4G, which is better than the AT&T 4G, but it's it can come in and out. It doesn't seem to match the speed I have on my Droid Charge through Verizon, which is 4G. And by the way, it'd be nice if it had a zoom.
Yeah.
Nexus S sort of lacks that.
Carrier's another issue. We're all stuck with these crappy carriers. I like the idea of it. If it's 720p, I'm going to presume that means 1280 by 720. There's no screen on a phone. That would be.
It'd be nice, but I'd also love that if it's LTE, does that mean, and I just don't know enough of this, but if it's LTE, does that mean I can slot in an LTE card from AT&T, then take my Verizon card and slot that in as well? Because that would be a real major change for us in the U.S. If LTE means that we can all have SIM cards and we can interact among the different systems, that they're all on the common thing, but I have a feeling it doesn't quite work like that.
Well, I'll buy one. I don't care what you say.
I'll probably buy one anyway. So.
Well, what's interesting is you're starting to see some standards. Like, for instance, all the rumors now that the next iPad will also have a Retina display. You're starting to see that high resolution display is going to be across the board on these devices. Fast processors across the board, lots of memory, better cameras. These are going to start becoming the standards, aren't they?
Will become our computers.
They are really our computers. Gina, I mean, I'm trying to think. The first 1280 by 720 display I had, that wasn't that long ago. That was pretty recently. And of course, it was a 15 or 17-inch screen.
Yeah.
I mean, we're moving ahead fast. Other stories in the news, then we'll get to our picks and our tools. Samsung Galaxy Tabs on first class on American Airlines, starting soon.
Yeah, I want to know how that works. Do you sign in? Do they just hand them out? And do you sign in your Google account, or do you just
preloaded with special stuff, including movies?
Well, if it's instead of the seat back TV, it's a benefit, right?
As long as you have something to rest it on.
So we've seen this actually for years. In fact, I remember 7 or 8, 9 years ago, there was a company they were this thick, making tablets that they wanted companies to hand out as you got on board. It's just easier for them to do that. They don't have to have a system that goes throughout the plane for one thing. They can just have individuals.
Right. It'll be like an entertainment console. It's not like you get one and sign in your Google account and start checking your Gmail. You get to watch movies and
well, maybe you can too. I don't know. That remains to be seen.
If you've got Wi-Fi on the plane, that might work. Yeah, I was actually using that tablet when I was driving up to Sebastopol and the TWiT cottage as my in-car nav system with the external Verizon Wi-Fi like thing. And it was amazingly good. The only problem was it wasn't actually attached to the car and it kept falling off. But having something having the Google navigation stuff on something that big is really nice.
I agree. I use on the iPad, there's a GPS, third-party GPS program called MotionX GPS. It's easily the best GPS I've ever used. Having that much real estate makes a huge difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it.
But particularly with the Google Nav stuff in the search builder, it's like, oh, I need to find this thing. Oh, there it is. Like,
right.
Yeah.
It's right there.
It's true.
This is the ultimate.
You have to park. We'll have someone in the passenger seat.
It's an information tool. Let's see here. What else? Oh, this is. This is going to be very interesting. There's a new Senate bill just proposed that would increase the fines for lip syncing on YouTube. Actually, not fine. The penalty for lip syncing on YouTube to 10 years in jail.
They're trying to make it criminal again.
They're trying to make it criminal again.
This is the thing Quinn was talking about on Sunday. It was saying that when they were seizing domains, they were alleging criminal copyright infringement, which is actually a civil offense. So they were seizing domains on the basis of a law that hasn't passed yet, which is pretty scary.
Well, they want to have a law now for lip syncing. This is SB. Just in case you want to kind of follow this through the Senate, I can't imagine it'll pass. It's SB.
I think it'll be called the Milli Vanilli law, won't it be?
You could say lip syncing's in bad taste, but 10 years in jail, now that's really in bad taste. SB 978, it's proposed, let me see if I can find this here. Bill to amend the criminal penalty provision for criminal infringement of a copyright and for other purposes. Senator Amy Klobuchar, a Democrat from Minnesota, proposed it. Now, this is brand new, so, I just want to give you some warning. It would make it illegal to upload lip-synced videos, among many, many other things. It's kind of shocking. Anybody reading Sarah Palin's email? Did you see this? The Sunlight Foundation?
That was a weird segue.
Is it criminal to read Sarah Palin's email now?
No! It's legal!
Tina Fey was lip syncing Sarah Palin there for a while on SNL.
There you go. Actually, you could search for Tina Fey. So they did a freedom of information. You remember she was governor of Alaska briefly, and they did a Freedom of Information Act. The state of Alaska said we can't give them to you electronically, so for $700 you can print out all 20,000 emails. So the Sunlight Foundation has scanned them, indexed them, and put them online. It's called sarahsinbox.com. They have some sample searches that I quite enjoyed, including Flippin' Believe It, Bridge to Nowhere, Tina Fey. Horrible people are bringing you down, Alaska natural gas pipeline, Barack Obama, crud, first dude, who leaked it, what a dumbass he is, and who's going to trim my hair.
It's a very Gmail-like interface,
It's
actually.
a Gmail-like interface. I love this. You can just read through email. It is. They even have like the Gmail oldest. 3,770 messages. I don't know if you want to spend a lot of time going through it. Let's see the Tina Fey one. Here it is. Governor Sarah Palin. She's CCing her assistant. Actually, this is from her assistant, Pat Galvin. My suggestion is you offer to go to Saturday Night Live and play Tina Fey, and you interview her as she plays you. And then you can go back and read the thread. I mean, it's just silly.
It's silly. It's an interesting look through, for about 2 minutes. It's kind of fun to run some of those example searches. But kudos to the Sunlight Foundation for creating an interface that we all know how to deal with versus scanned documents. They scanned and they used OCR, so you'll get some weird typos. It'll say sent from my BlackBerry with a couple of different, an extra E at the end. But still kind of fun to flip through.
I told my wife about it. She said, "How is that legal?" I said, well, "She was the governor. It's right. She was using her state government email, so
state email is a matter of public record."
Well, it made me think. It made me think when you're looking at that too. It's like it was so crazy that they were printing out these emails. I mean, what a joke, right?
Oh, $700 a set.
But you almost wondered, like, well, maybe if you're dealing with public emails like that, then this is all being done through a Gmail-like interface that anybody can search through anyway. The problem is, of course, you've got the sensitive information that can't be out there.
Exactly.
But it could be that on a daily basis, you go through the emails and you tag the things that are for public record, and you just throw it out there. And then we don't have to go through this sort of stuff. Maybe you can read through whatever they want.
Speaking
of all public.
Speaking of snooping, it's always fun when a company goes public. You can read the S1, the document that's offered to investors. We've had fun with Groupons. Now it's time for Pandora. Pandora had its IPO this morning. Big valuation. Stock closed at $17, up 8.9%. The original IPO price was $20. I'm sorry, $20. Yeah, 14.7 million shares. Problem is that Pandora has not been making any money, and there's a big kind of balloon payment coming up on Pandora. The price of the music that they offer is going to go up quite a bit soon. A number of analysts said Pandora's stock price was inflated. Morningstar said it was worth $6 a share. Maybe the bubble never got inflated.
I like Pandora. I hope
love
they
it.
Pay for themselves.
Yeah.
Someday.
They've got this. The problem is this licensing deal that they've got is going to really kill them soon. And you know this. They've been fighting. And Tim Westergren, who's great, I love him, the guy who founded the company, has really been fighting the good fight to keep licensing costs down on internet radio. And has sort of managed to keep them down, but the costs are going to go up dramatically very soon. All right, moving along. We're going to wrap this up here before we get to our tips. New York City. Go ahead.
I was just mention turntable.fm. I don't know if you guys have been playing with that, but that's...
tell me about it, because I just logged in. You have to have a Facebook friend who's using it. I guess I got in because of you.
So what it is you go to a room. I'm in a Twig room. Go in the Twig room.
Yeah.
And there are people playing music.
Yeah.
There are DJs on the stage and people on the ground. And it takes a little while to load it. It's not playing whatever I'm playing. And you add music to your list up there on the right. And then you can step up on stage and play music for each other.
Little art of noise. Good choice.
And you take it in turns. Basically, the people who are on stage it rotates round, and you can say, I like this, I hate this. If enough people hate it, it gets skipped.
I like this. There's a lame and an awesome button. I'm going to press awesome.
You see? That got to be a point, you see.
Who else is in here? Gina's in here.
Yeah, I just hopped in.
I'm in here. There's Surmi and Eileen, our producer. This is cool. So I can add a song, but do I have to have the song... Or it could just be anything in their library.
So there's stuff in their library, or you can upload things that aren't in their library. So I can play like stuff I recorded myself.
So I'm going to search for a song. And the propeller heads, this seems to fit in. I'm going to add history repeating. So then the next song will be whoever is next in the queue.
Yes.
That's cool.
And so it's, and they're,
this is so illegal.
No, it's legal because they're using the same licensing as Pandora does. So what happens is they won't let you just play songs to yourself in the room. So the rule with this copyright licensing is complicated, but it basically means you can't know what's coming up.
I like
and
this.
you can't play the same artist more than N times an hour or whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of stupid rules like that. And Pandora came up, which was designed to stop you setting up request lines. And Pandora set it up so that they have their music DNA thing, which is you give them an artist and they have to find artists that are like them because they can't keep playing that artist. So this is another twist on that same game around the same set of rules, which is you rotate around 5 of you. And the fun part of it is when you do exactly what you were saying. Oh, that reminds me of X. Here's one that I think would go along with that.
I could see spending a lot of time in here.
And the other thing I've seen with this is that lots of people are doing it for if they're a startup and they've got people in different places, they just have a room they play music to each other, and then they just log in and use the chat for that the same way you might use an IRC or something.
And when you say something, it pops over your head.
Yeah.
So we've got 5 DJs. What happens after your song is done? Do you move off or?
No, you can stay there until you decide to leave.
So a total of 5
and last
people.
one, it becomes the room admin. Yeah.
Oh, this is neat.
It's very nice. I mean, and it's basically maybe Pandora can have enough money to go and buy these guys and make it scale a bit better because they were running out of server space. I think they were cancelling signups for a bit. But.
So this is turntable.fm. You can ask for an invite. Or I like it because it uses Facebook Connect. If your Facebook friends, any one of your Facebook friends is already a member, and I presume because Kevin, you were, I was able to do this. You jump in, and so it spreads virally through your Facebook friends, which is kind of neat.
And the other thing is when you log in and you look at the list of rooms, it puts ones that have got your friends in at the top, then it puts ones with the most people in. And the agent says that lots of companies have made their own rooms like Simple Geo Media Temple. So it's very neat thing.
We'll have to have a TWiT company room. Love this song, by the way. I'm sorry. I'm just listening to this.
Eventually, every room turns into dubstep unless you police them carefully. But
really? Is that true? All songs lead to dubstep? That's interesting. My son would be thrilled to hear that. He's a dubstep composer.
Twig leads to ego searches.
My sons have basically been living in this since I showed.
They're dubstep fans too.
Sign into it and play stuff back and forth.
The kids today love the dubstep.
Dubstep is actually pretty good.
Have you heard my son's music?
I went to the GitHub conference and they played it like the whole entire time, and then I started listening to Dubstep Pandora Station. And it's great to code to. Like I find myself stomping around and very authoritatively committing changes. It's good.
Really?
Yeah. There's the most popular room on here is coding soundtrack, which has always got over 100 people in it. And is mostly dubstep.
And it's for coding.
It's the idea is it's music to code to, which basically you can't have lyrics that distract you because you start typing the lyrics.
By the way, all of us listening to music is now killing your bandwidth.
Yeah.
Kevin, you got to turn it off now. He's starting to, I'm trying to find my...
Yes, I should probably... close that room.
Son's music here, because I'd like to play some dubstep for you. We'll save that for later. Wow, that's cool, Kevin. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's really neat.
Yeah.
New York City, Twitter capital of the world. Oh, Facebook hires. I'm just going to go through a few of them.
What? What? You talking trash about my hometown?
You didn't say Brooklyn.
New York City is the Twitter capital of the world because New York City is the capital of the world.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Hey.
They continue. Carry
Pretty
on. Pretty
obvious, isn't it? Facebook hires former Clinton White House Press Secretary Joe Lockhart. Do you care about the Webbies? Now, I can bring this up briefly, but I don't care about the Webbies because it's so mainstream focused. It kind of bugs me. It's like, well, yeah, it's all about the celebrities.
Yeah, geeks don't care about the Webbies. Is the Webbies the one where you have to pay to submit your thing for an award, or is that another award?
First, you have to be, I think, nominated by the Academy of Web Sciences. Seriously, there's some like weird academy thing. That's
and then
like
you have to pay.
And then you have to, I think, pay.
That's just ridiculous.
Okay.
The reason the Webbies are well known, I went to the Webbies once a few years ago. The reason they're well known is because of the 5-word thank yous.
Right.
You
Yeah,
only get-
those are fun.
the winner speeches are short, and the best one this year, I thought. Oh, I don't care. TechCrunch, best $175 AOL ever spent. That's good. That's funny. I liked Dan Savage's. He said,
Oh, what was his?
Tracy Morgan, suck my.
Oh.
No, I think it was can suck my because he had to do 5, right? I thought that was good.
Nice.
Dan did
Finally.
win for It Gets Better, and I think deservedly so on that. We've talked about that before. Behold, thanks to TechCrunch, Facebook's secret photo sharing app. TechCrunch, did you see this? The Facebook said, oh, yeah, we have ways to turn features on and off. In fact, everything in the next 6 months is already in our code, and we just say who can see it, but we have a kind of blanket, TechCrunch can't see anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes. That was the thing they tested by turning on a special send pictures by fax feature just for TechCrunch.
Yeah. TechCrunch, did they do a story on it?
Yes, it was just different. And they said, why is there this feature for sending things by fax? What does fax say?
The gay in Iraq blog turns out to be an American guy.
At least we're talking about lesbian bloggers.
Sort of.
But then the host of the lesbian blogging site that she was posting on turned out to be another American guy. That was the second weird part.
Good Lord. Get your minds out of the gutter, American guys.
It's like, here's a way I can say that I like women without being a scary guy.
It's just creepy. All right, we're going to move on. I think it's time to do our tip, tool, and actually, Danny will do our number of the week.
Oh, no.
I'm
No,
sorry.
I
No,
got
you
a
won't.
number.
Kevin will do it. Danny, if you want, I will give you my tool. That sounded wrong. So very wrong.
I would gladly
love you,
accept
Leo.
it.
But you know what I mean. One chromosexual to another.
Yeah. That's excellent. I'm experimenting. It's fine.
He's open. Curious. So if you have anything that you think would be an interesting tool for the Google folks, the Twig folks, you can come up with that in just a moment. Your tool can pop up in a moment. But first, Gina's tip.
We talked about this a little bit earlier. So Google announced search by image and search by voice, and those are going to be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. But if you want to try them out now, you can go to google.com/experimental, and there's a voice search experiment which you can join, and then there's a search or instant on images, which is not search by image. That's different. Instant on images means that you get the Google Instant drop down with suggestions as you type. So you can join in either or. You can't go in both.
So that bugs me because I was +1, right? So now I've left
Right.
+1. So I'm going to do voice search.
Right. So if you opt into the voice search experiment, you go to the google.com search page, and you'll have a little microphone on the search box if you want to give it a try
Let's see it.
before
Oh, yeah,
it's
look.
official.
Okay. So now I click it. Search for. Oh, no, I don't say search for. Stop. Take 2. Gina Trapani.
Nice.
Jeanette Rapani. Okay. Okay. Don't make me laugh. Kevin Marks. Yay.
There
That
you go.
worked. The guy from Search Engine Land. Yeah. Danny Sullivan. Okay, that was close.
The question is, does it work in my accent? Because that's always the problem.
Yeah. Well, let me try it. I would like to know more about the Chromebook, please. Yeah, Crown Ladies Golf. I think that's close.
Crown Ladies Golf. There you go.
Please, sir, can I have some more golf?
Please, sir, may I have some more? So that's good. That's a good tip. Thank you, Gina. I'm going to leave that on. That's fun.
Cool.
That's very fun. And now for our number of the week, Kevin Marks filling in for Jeff Jarvis.
So the number I've got is a rather special one, is 208 quadrillion quintillion.
What the hell?
Oh.
Which is,
I've
got a link for you to stick up. There's a,
I've got it right here.
So there was a bunch of discussion we had the weekend about gamification and can games and play work in business. And my colleague JP Rangaswamy gave a talk about that yesterday. And then there was this wonderful slide set that Kathy Sierra recommended that talks this through in great detail. And one of the points it makes is Google indexes 20 billion web pages, but the number of possible games of Go is so much larger, it's ridiculous. And that's the difference between an actual game that creates a set of rules that you can explore for as long as you like because you've created something open-ended, or a game like Lego where you've got lots of little pieces you can plug together. And some of these ideas of gamification which boil down to taking the crudest, simplest high score table and attaching that to your business. So I think you want slide 27, which is where you can see the number. Or possibly 28.
I probably could just enter the slide number somewhere if it were well designed. Oh dear, I've clicked too many times. I don't know where I'm going. Doesn't even.
Anyway, this presentation is really worth a read. If you've been thinking about games and gamification at all, this is like here's the Go stuff.
This is so cool.
So that's the number of pages that Google searches, and that's the number of possible games in Go, which is why computers can't play Go.
208 quadrillion, quinquagentillion, or 2.08 times 10 to the 130th possible games. That's more than there are atoms in the universe. Wow. Interesting.
So that's my number of the week, which was the favorite number.
And we'll put a link to this SlideShare too. Or you could search SlideShare for "Don't Play Games with Me: Promises and Pitfalls of Gameful Design." We have a link in the show notes as well. That's really cool. Good number and big. That's the biggest number we've ever had.
30.
Do you want to do a tool of the week for us, Danny? Or
Yeah, I've got.
Turn off turntable.fm.
Gone.
He's still playing the game, listening to the music.
Are you still there?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, I've got 2 tools, if that's all right.
Yeah. Well, all right. No,
right.
It's okay.
One's mine, but
Yeah.
I think you'll like it.
Okay.
But I'll do, first is Bitly Pro. Well, it's now Bitly. They just announced today that they've made available a lot of the Bitly Pro features that you either had to pay for or you couldn't get into. And the primary thing is that if you're trying to shorten a URL, you can have your own custom URL. So like at Search Engine Land, our custom URL is selnd.com.
Oh.
And you've probably seen the New York Times is nyt.
Right.
And something like that. And so anybody can have those sorts of things. And it's just a nice way, I think, both of keeping your own branding and also if for some reason you ever decided to migrate the short URLs that you yourself were putting out, you can always move that to another server. You're kind of in control of your own domain. So
now I just go to my
favor that.
settings. I say add a custom short domain.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you got to get one, but once you've got one.
Oh, I have to have it?
Yeah, they recommend that you go you try a couple of those short URL search engines, to suggest one based on your current one.
If it were Google, it would have already gotten one for you before you even knew you had.
It should guess.
Had a time to think
you want Leo.im. Of course you've got it.
Exactly. You'd have been there.
Yeah.
The other thing was something we put out about 2 weeks ago. It's called the periodic table of SEO. And the reason I suggested to the audience is just that there's a lot of misunderstanding about what SEO is or the ways that Google wants you to do stuff or Bing wants you to do stuff. And so we put together this thing to try to explain these are the most important things you really need to think about and not make it overwhelming for people and try to have people focusing things like on CQ, which stands for quality, or CR, which is doing your keyword research. And so I'd really suggest that if you know someone who's trying to get up to speed or if you're a developer who's trying to understand this and you feel like it can be overwhelming or that there is just, too much garbage out there, you think SEO is just, don't you have to spam a bunch of blogs? No, don't. That's what it's designed to help you do. And there's a whole online guide to tell you more about each of those different factors that are out there.
Danny, I could promise you that, because we get a lot of questions on the radio show from people who have been approached by SEO snake oil salesmen. And I'm always saying, no. I will now tell them, go here, read this, you're done. Don't pay any money to those guys.
Yeah, I hope that it's helpful. And yes, in general, if you ever get a cold call email in your inbox, you can safely delete that. There's not going to be any surprises for you in there.
Yay. Great stuff. Thank you, Danny. Danny Sullivan is at searchengineland.com. That's where you'll find the periodic table of SEO, among other things. Searchengineland.com. Really great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for
being
being
here.
Also joining us, Kevin Marks. from chatter.com and salesforce.com. Always a pleasure having you on. One of the best observers of this stuff there is, the guy who knows. So it's always good to talk to you. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate your being here.
Always appreciate joining in.
And it's also nice to see some outside. Every once in a while.
It is. Birds chirping.
Kevin's in his garden. Every once in a while is to see a tree, a leaf, a shrub. So pleasant.
Flower.
That's about as close as I'm going to get today. And and of course, Gina Trapani. We always love Gina. She's the best. It was so fun to have some time with Gina. She's at smarterware.org. You can get some time with her there. At Gina Trapani or Trapani on, I guess you spelled it the same on Twitter. Either way.
Yep.
And of course,
great to be here. Great show today. I missed Jeff, but awesome show. Thanks for coming on, Kevin, Danny.
I didn't mention at the beginning, and I apologize. Jeff's just out of town, right?
Yeah.
Where did he go?
I forget now where he's at, but he's somewhere he couldn't call in, which is somewhere must be very remote. Because normally, as we all know, Jeff, is able to Skype in basically from everywhere.
Yeah, he's called us from all around the world, so it must be somewhere like, I don't know.
It must be the middle of the night somewhere where Jeff is.
Maybe that's it, yeah.
We
Well,
miss
Jeff
you,
will be
Jeff.
back next week. We do miss him. But thank you all for being here. We do this show every Wednesday, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern. Actually, we try to do it at 1 because we move it up. This is the one show we try to get on time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 2000 UTC at live.twit.tv. But you know what? You don't have to be here. You can always download the show after the fact. twit.tv/twig or just anywhere finer podcasts are offered up. And episode 100 next week. So we'll do
Awesome.
something special to celebrate. Maybe we'll buy a Twit brick. Bricks.twit.tv. I've got some bricks behind me on the shelf here. These are great bricks, and we are selling them to raise money for the new studio, which I believe we will be doing this show from in about a month.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting.
That's going to be really
Did
exciting.
I take you by to see it, Gina?
We drove by, but then I had to run and get my flight, so I actually haven't gotten a tour yet. But that's good. I have a reason to come back.
You'll see it when it's done.
Definitely.
You got to see the old cottage, which is the bit that's going away. So.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Gina
that's
was
really
here,
what I want to see.
and Gina and Kevin have both seen that. Thank goodness. And so now we can tear it down.
Yes, you now have my blessing to move forward.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next week on Twig. And Kevin Marks is still here. He doesn't want to ever leave.
Oh, sorry. I was reading the chat room, looking down.
You can continue to read the chat room. They're great fun. Stay as long as you like. Actually, I'm going back to turntable.fm. That was cool.
I may hang up when you go back to that because I've pretty lost that room.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Thank you, Kevin. What a great tip.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere Seth is cursing me for all
Apparently,
the
Malik just emailed us saying, I want to tell Leo about turntable.fm. Too late!
Yeah, he's got his own room, yeah.
Does he?
He's got
This is the
his own
coolest
room.
thing I've ever seen. I am so excited about this. What a great idea. We've got to have a Twit room.
It's the same sort of thing that Pandora plays on, except that instead of using all these people to do music DNA, it's a bunch of people you know or their friends.
Right.
So the guy who is the complete music nerd sits on the stage, and the rest of you just hang out and chat.
Oh, you know what? I think we killed him.
I bet you did.
Yeah, could not connect. Please try again. If you still cannot connect, you may have your firewall blocking your connection. No.
I think it was broken.
No, I broke it.